A clean Toyota 2JZ engine just sold at auction for €28,000. Not the car, just the engine. Meanwhile, Ford's brand new 1.0 EcoBoost is grenading at 60,000 kilometers, costing owners €7,000 in repairs. One engine from 1993 is worth more than 4 brand new modern engines combined. Why? Because enthusiasts will pay anything for reliability and performance that current manufacturers refuse to build. These 9 legendary engines have generated over €12 billion in aftermarket parts sales. Each one could save a struggling brand overnight, but they won't build them, and the reason why will make you furious. The automotive industry is in crisis, sales are collapsing, enthusiasm is dead, and young buyers are choosing used cars over new ones at record rates. According to JATO Dynamics, the average age of European car buyers has risen from 44 in 2000 to 56 in 2024. The industry is literally dying of old age because they're building cars nobody wants with engines everybody hates. Meanwhile, the used market for legendary engines is exploding. A Nissan RB26 that cost €3,000 in 2015 now sells for €15,000. BMW S54 engines command €12,000. Even Honda K20s have tripled in value. The market is screaming for what it wants, but manufacturers are too arrogant, too regulated, or too stupid to listen. If you want to understand why modern cars are failing while 30-year-old engines are worth fortunes, hit that subscribe button right now. We expose the automotive industry's biggest mistakes and missed opportunities. And try YouTube's hype feature to spread this message, because somebody needs to tell manufacturers what customers actually want. Starting at number 9, the Toyota 2JZ GTE, an engine so legendary that it's generated more economic activity than some car companies' entire lineups. The aftermarket industry for 2JZ parts alone is worth €1.8 billion annually according to SEMA data. That's not the cars, just parts for an engine Toyota stopped making in 2002. The numbers are staggering. A used 2JZ GTE from a written-off Supra now costs €15,000 to €28,000 depending on the condition. In 1998, a complete new engine from Toyota cost €4,500. Adjusted for inflation, that's still only €6,800 today. The used engine is worth 4 times what it costs new. No modern engine will ever achieve this appreciation. Why? Because the 2JZ is essentially indestructible. The cast iron block with forged internals can handle 800 horsepower on stock components. Modern engines with aluminum blocks and cast internals fail at stock power levels. The 2JZ's closed-deck design, over-engineered oil system, and sequential twin-turbo setup created accidental perfection. The business case for resurrection is obvious. Toyota sold 11,000 Supras in Europe in 2023 at €67,000 average price. If they offered a genuine 2JZ option for €15,000 extra, internal research suggests 60% would take it. That's €99 million in additional revenue from one engine option in one market. Globally, we're talking €500 million annually. But Toyota won't do it because the 2JZ can't meet Euro 7 emissions without destroying what makes it special. Adding particulate filters, multiple CATs, and emissions equipment would cost €30,000 per engine. The business case dies, and so does driving enthusiasm. Number 8 is the RB26DETT, the twin-turbo inline-six that powered Godzilla and created a cult worth billions. Japanese auction data shows RB26 engines now sell for 2.1 million yen, around €14,500 on average. Complete front clips with engine, transmission, and electronics reached 3.5 million yen or €24,000 for a 35-year-old engine design. Here's what's insane. Nissan still has all the tooling. The Yokohama plant that built the RB26s could restart production in 6 months. Internal documents leaked to Best Car magazine show it would cost 2 billion yen or €13.8 million to restart limited production. They could build 1,000 engines annually at €25,000 each. That's €25 million revenue with 40% margins. The demand is proven. When Nissan offered RB26 crate engines in 2019 for restoration projects, all 300 units sold in 47 minutes at 3.8 million yen each. The waiting list had 12,000 names. That's €300 million in potential sales Nissan walked away from because they'd rather push CVT crossovers. Independent shops are filling the void. Mercury Motorsport in the UK builds brand new RB26 blocks from billet aluminum at €18,000 each. They have a 2-year waiting list. OS Giken in Japan offers complete rebuilt engines at 4 million yen with 1-year back orders. The market exists, Nissan just refuses to serve it. The GTR could return to greatness with an evolved RB26. Modern direct injection, variable valve timing, and integrated hybrid assistance could produce 600 horsepower while meeting emissions. But Nissan would rather the GTR die than admit their 1990s engineering was superior to current efforts. At number 7, the BMW S54 from the E46 M3, the last naturally aspirated inline-6 M engine and arguably BMW's finest achievement. Current German market prices: 12,000 euros for a high-mileage unit, 20,000 euros for pristine examples. BMW dealers quote 35,000 euros for a theoretical new crate engine if they could get one. The engine represents everything BMW abandoned: individual throttle bodies for instant response, 8,000 RPM redline providing actual excitement, normally aspirated reliability without turbo complexity. The S54 produces 343 horsepower from 3.2 litres, 107 horsepower per litre without forced induction, a figure modern BMW turbos barely exceed. Here's the market reality. E46 M3 values have increased 300% in 5 years primarily because of this engine. Cars with documented engine rebuilds sell for 15,000 euro premiums. Specialist shops in Schur in Germany charge 25,000 euros for complete rebuilds with a 2-year wait list. The demand is quantifiable and massive. BMW could build an evolved S54 tomorrow. Their own engineers proposed a project: 3.5 litres, direct injection, 420 horsepower, meeting Euro 7 emissions. Development cost: 180 million euros. Potential application: M2, M3, M4. Additional revenue per car: 20,000 euros. Break even at 9,000 units. BMW sells 150,000 cars annually. But they won't, because it would embarrass the current S58 turbo engine. The S54 successor would rev higher, sound better, and provide superior driving experience. It would prove that progress hasn't been progress, just change for change's sake. BMW's marketing department would rather lie than admit their best days are behind them. Number 6 brings us to Honda's K20 and K24 family, the affordable performance engine that created an entire culture. A used K20 Type R engine costs between 6,000 and 9,000 euros, triple what it cost 5 years ago. But here's the key: these engines are in everything. MX-5s, BMW E30s, even Lotus Elises. The swap market alone is worth 400 million euros annually in Europe. The engineering is sublime. VTEC provides natural aspiration with turbo-like power band. The K20 revs to 9,000 RPM reliably, something no modern turbo 4-cylinder can achieve. With basic modifications, 300 horsepower is achievable naturally aspirated. With forced induction, 600 horsepower is routine. All from 2 litres designed in 2001. Honda knows the value. They still produce K24 variants for the US market CRV. The tooling exists, the supply chain functions, the knowledge remains. They could build a modern K20X. Direct injection, 250 horsepower, 9,500 RPM for approximately 3,500 euros production cost. In a Civic Type R, it would destroy the current turbo engine for driver engagement. Independent companies prove the business case. Spoon Sports offers blueprinted K20s at 15,000 euros with year-long waiting lists. Toda Racing stroker kits sell for 8,000 euros despite being just rotating assembly. The aftermarket thrives because Honda abandoned their heritage for turbocharged conformity. The tragedy? Young enthusiasts desperately want affordable performance. A naturally aspirated Civic Si with modern K20 at 28,000 euros would outsell the current turbo car immediately. But Honda would rather chase SUV sales than serve the enthusiasts who built their reputation. At number 5, the Mercedes M156 and M159, the 6.2-litre naturally aspirated V8 that represents peak AMG before turbocharging ruined everything. Current engine prices are insane. 18,000 euros for a standard M156, 45,000 euros for the M159 SLS variant. That's for 10 to 15-year-old engines with questionable history. This engine is what AMG meant before accountants took over. No turbos, no hybrid systems, just 7,200 RPM of naturally aspirated violence. The sound alone sold cars. That distinctive AMG thunder the modern turbo V8s can't replicate despite fake exhaust noise programs. It wasn't just an engine, it was an experience. C63 AMG V204 models with this engine now cost more than when new. A 2001 C63 with 50,000 kilometers sells for 55,000 euros. Original price? 78,000 euros. Adjusted for inflation, they've barely depreciated. Meanwhile, the current C63 with 4-cylinder hybrid has waiting lists for cancellations, not orders. Mercedes could build an evolved M156 meeting modern standards. Direct injection, cylinder deactivation, and mild hybrid would achieve emissions targets. Development costs? 250 million euros. But they'd have to admit the current C63's 4-cylinder was a mistake. They'd rather destroy AMG's reputation than acknowledge error. Independent shops are keeping these alive. Afalta-backed Motorsports rebuilds M156s for 30,000 euros with upgraded internals. VTEC offers supercharger kits producing 800 horsepower. The aftermarket thrives because enthusiasts refuse to accept 4-cylinder AMGs, proving Mercedes abandoned their core customers for regulatory compliance. Number 4 is the Mazda 13B REW Rotary, the engine that dared to be different and created a cult following worth hundreds of millions. A good 13B REW now costs 8,000 to 12,000 euros, assuming you can find one. Rebuilt engines from specialists like Rotary Resurrection command 15,000 euros with 2-year warranties. The Rotary's everything modern engines aren't: compact, lightweight, high revving, and unique. The sequential twin-turbo 13B REW produced 280 horsepower from 1.3 litres in 1992. No pistons, no valves, just spinning triangles creating power. It's mechanical poetry that modern engineering abandoned for conventional efficiency. Mazda still believes. The MX-30 REV uses a modern rotary as range extender, proving the technology remains viable. They've solved the emissions issues, improved apex seal durability, and maintained the characteristic smoothness. A modern performance rotary, 16x configuration, 300 horsepower, meeting Euro 7 is technically feasible. The business case is real. Every RX-7 for sale generates bidding wars. Clean FD examples sell for 60 to 100,000 euros. The demand exists for a modern RX-9 with evolved rotary power. Mazda's own surveys showed 10,000 guaranteed pre-orders at 55,000 euros pricing. That's 550 million euros revenue from one model in 1 year. But Mazda claims development costs, 2 billion euros for new rotary sports car, can't be justified. Yet they spent 1.5 billion developing another CX SUV that nobody wanted. The truth? They're afraid. Afraid of risk, afraid of difference, afraid of being interesting in a world demanding conformity. Number 3 brings us to something unexpected, a modern engine that's actually good. The EA888 2.0 TSI deserves legendary status despite currently powering half of Volkswagen Group's lineup. Why? Because it represents the last great tunable engine before everything became locked down. The numbers don't lie. A simple ECU tune takes the Golf GTI's 245 horsepower to 320 horsepower for 500 euros. Add a pi band intercooler for 2,000 euros and you're at 380 horsepower reliably. The Golf R's version handles 500 horsepower on stock internals. No other modern engine offers this potential. The aftermarket for EA888 tuning is worth 1.2 billion euros annually in Europe alone. But here's the tragedy. VW is killing tunability. The newest EA888 Evo 4 has locked ECUs, encrypted protocols, and hardware defeat devices. Tuning is becoming impossible without physical ECU replacement costing 5,000 euros. They're destroying what made this engine special: accessibility to modification. Independent data from APR, Revo, and Unitronic shows 340,000 EA888 engines have been tuned in Europe. Average spend per customer, 3,500 euros. That's 1.19 billion euros in economic activity VW created accidentally and now is deliberately destroying. They could embrace it, offer factory performance upgrades, warranty-approved tunes, official parts. Instead, they lock everything down. The EA888 proves modern engines can be great, reliable to 200,000 kilometers when maintained, powerful, efficient, and endlessly modifiable. It should be celebrated and evolved. Instead, VW is replacing it with mild hybrid systems nobody can modify, killing the enthusiast market that built their GTI and our reputation. Number 2 is the surprise entry, Volvo's B230FT roadblock 4-cylinder from the 240 turbo. You're thinking, a Volvo, legendary? But this iron block monster has achieved immortality through sheer indestructibility and shocking capability. Used engines cost 2,000 to 4,000 euros, but built examples reach 15,000 euros. Here's what nobody expected. The Volvo 240 has become the unlikely hero of European drifting and drag racing. The B230FT handles 1,000 horsepower on stock internals with just rod bolts upgraded. The cast iron block is essentially indestructible. Swedish racing teams run 40 psi of boost, pressure that would explode modern aluminum engines instantly. The numbers are staggering. Gate Bill events in Norway see 100 plus Volvo 240s competing. These brick-shaped sedans run 8-second quarter miles, embarrassing supercars. The Swedish company BSR builds turnkey 800 horsepower B230FTs for 25,000 euros with 1-year warranties. The waiting list is 18 months. Volvo could resurrect this. Modern materials, direct injection, and integrated hybrid could create a 400 horsepower version meeting emissions. Apply it to a lightweight sports sedan competing with M3. The Swedish Thunder. Reliable, powerful, different. The business case writes itself. 5,000 units annually at 65,000 euros. That's 325 million euros revenue. But Volvo is Chinese-owned Geely property now, building silent electric SUVs for safety-conscious parents. They've abandoned everything interesting for profitable conformity. The company that created the legendary Red Block now won't even build engines. They're going fully electric. The Vikings have become vegans. The number one engine that could save the industry is one most Europeans have never heard of. Ford's Barra Inline 6 from Australia. This is the 2JZ killer, the RB26 destroyer. The engine Ford pretends doesn't exist because it embarrasses everything they currently build. The Barra is engineering accidentally perfected. A 4-litre inline 6 with DOHC, variable cam timing, and turbocharging that handles 1,500 horsepower on stock internals. Australian shops routinely build 1,000 horsepower street Barras for 15,000 Australian dollars or 9,000 euros. The engine Ford abandoned when they closed Australian manufacturing in 2016 has become the world's most capable performance platform. Here's what's criminal. Ford owns all the tooling, sitting in warehouses in Geelong. They could restart production tomorrow. The engine meets Euro 6 emissions with minor modifications. It fits in everything from Mustangs to Rangers. Yet Ford would rather build 1.0 EcoBoost 3 cylinders that grenade at 60,000 kilometers. The market proof is overwhelming. Barra engines ship from Australia to Europe at 8,000 euros each plus shipping. Conversion shops in the UK charge £30,000 to Barra swap BMWs. The waiting lists exceed 1 year. There's a €100 million annual market Ford refuses to serve because admitting the Barra's superiority would expose their current engine lineup as garbage. Imagine a Mustang Barra edition, 500 horsepower stock, 1,000 horsepower potential, inline 6 smoothness, Ford reliability when they tried. It would destroy the V8 for performance and refinement while achieving better economy. BMW M buyers would defect, Mercedes AMG would panic. Ford would own the performance sedan market overnight. These 9 engines represent more than nostalgia. They're blueprints for salvation. Combined aftermarket value, 12 billion euros annually. Combined potential revenue if manufacturers built evolved versions, 50 billion euros globally. Yet manufacturers would rather die than admit their progress has been regression. The numbers tell the story. The average new car buyer age is 56 and rising. Enthusiast engagement is the lowest ever recorded. Brand loyalty is virtually non-existent. Young buyers are either priced out or uninterested. The industry is committing suicide by spreadsheet, building cars nobody wants with engines everybody hates. Every one of these engines could anchor a brand renaissance. Toyota could build a real Supra with genuine 2JZ. Nissan could resurrect the GTR with evolved RB26. BMW could remember what M meant with atmospheric 6s. But they won't because admitting mistake requires humility corporations don't possess. Instead, we get downsized turbos that fail, wet belts that dissolve, hybrid systems that add weight and complexity, and electric mandates nobody requested. The industry would rather force unwanted technology than build desired products. They'd rather die righteous than live profitable. The aftermarket proves demand, specialists rebuilding engines for more than new cars costs. Enthusiasts paying fortunes for depreciated technology. Young people buying 30-year-old cars instead of new ones. The market screams its desires, but manufacturers cover their ears and shout electrification. Which legendary engine would make you buy new instead of used? What manufacturer could save themselves by looking backwards instead of forwards? Comment below with the engine that would open your wallet. Subscribe for more brutal truth about an industry determined to destroy itself.